Good morning. So next few days we're going to be learning. You can interrupt with questions as you normally would if they're recording. Okay, so we're learning Brit Hashem as per Jordan's request, suggestion, a little something about Hanukkah. So what we're looking, let's back up a little bit. The Rebbe's Torah on Hanukkah is full, comprehensive, and extensive, meaning besides the fact that there is just a lot of content, which is not, there was taught lots of Torah, so there's lots of content from there on Pesach, on Shavuos, on all Purim and whatnot. But like every other subject ever addresses, and Hanukkah especially so, it's comprehensive in the sense that all of the different teachings that the Rebbe has on Hanukkah put together create this unique, specific picture that the Rebbe has of Hanukkah that covers, it's all-encompassing, covers every detail. It covers the Al Nisim, the text of the prayer, covers the Halal component, it covers the Levi menorah component, the Halacha component, the story component, the spiritual meaning component. They've addresses all throughout the years. They've addressed all parts of Hanukkah, and together to become like this unique, comprehensive view of Hanukkah. The halachic from the midrashic and whatnot.
All contained in one body of markers, spread out.
So okay, so that's, initially it's spread out. In its original text, each essay is separate from the other, published on its own, but then put together creates this picture, which someone did. Rabbi Yoel Khan, Rabbi's chief scribe, if you will, or transcriber of his Torah, put together a little booklet called My Hanukkah, maybe 100 pages or so, and he turned all of his different essays into one comprehensive essay that, but not like compiles like disparate teachings. He made it into one long essay but it's woven from all the various different components. So we're looking at not that book, My Hanukkah, we're looking at one of these texts, one of these essays that I wrote on Hanukkah. One of the central ones that give us a really good idea about the story of Hanukkah, the uniqueness of the story of Hanukkah, and a unique perspective on the story of Hanukkah, taken from commenting on the Al Nisim, which is the insert that we put into our davening and benching. We put the Al Nisim into the insert of Hanukkah that addresses the text there and gives us a unique understanding of the story of Hanukkah. That's what's going to come today. I don't know how long this will take, maybe 2-3 days. And if we still have more time on Hanukkah, we'll do another one like this. Yeah, okay. So the first thing I want to do is, I'm going to read the text of the Al Nisim in English. So that we, sorry? So I'm going to read the text of Al Nisim in English. And that will get us an idea of what's trying to be conveyed on its basic understanding before we read the Rebbe's talk. And then we'll see how the Rebbe adds a new layer and helps us understand the story of Hanukkah much better. Okay. So the Al Nisim. And we thank you for the miracles, for the redemption, for the mighty deeds, for the saving acts, for the wonders which you have wrought on our ancestors in these days at this time. In those days at this time. Yeah, that's the opening line, Al Nisim, and then it splits Purim, Hanukkah. Right? You know how the prayer is set up there? Mm-hmm. So Hanukkah 1. In the time of Mattathiah, the son of Yochanan the high priest, the Hasbanayan and his sons, when the wicked Hellenic government rose up against your people in Israel to make them forget your Torah and violate your decrees, violate the decrees of your will. But you, in your abundant mercy, stood up by them in the time of their distress. You waged their battles, defended their rights, and avenged their wrong done but to them. You delivered, here's where the Rebbe is going to comment on these words. Can you hear me? Yeah? Want to come a little closer? That works better. So these are the words the Rebbe says there. These are the words the Rebbe is going to comment on. You delivered you delivered the mighty in the hands of the weak, the many in the hands of the few, the impure into the hands of the pure, the wicked into the hands of the righteous, and the wanton sinners into the hands of those who occupy themselves with their Torah. Yeah? We're thanking Hashem for delivering our enemies into our hands, and our enemies are referred to in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ways. And we are referred to in 5 ways. Mighty in the hands of the weak, many in the hands of the few, impure into the hands of the pure, wicked into the hands of the righteous, wanton sinners into the hands of those who study your Torah. That's what I was going to comment on these 5 descriptions of us versus our enemies. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Then it goes on to say, you made a great holy name for yourself and your world. You effected great deliverance and redemption for people, Israel to this very day. And then your children into the shrine of your house, cleanse your temple, purified your sanctuary, kindle lights in your holy courtyards, and institute these days of Hanukkah to give thanks and praise to your name, to God your name. Okay. So this is the primary storyline, which is going to be a subject maybe of a different talk. But the primary storyline of the Alanism, the miracle is not described as the oil burning. It doesn't say we won the battle and then you did a great miracle and made your menorah burn for 8 days. Thank you for the miracle of saving us from your enemies, saving us from our enemies, described in 5 ways. Us and our enemies described in 5 ways. In contrast, great, mighty, mighty, weak, many, few, wicked, righteous, and so on. And then after the miracle is over, you went into the temple. Thank you by lighting the menorah. No miracle mentioned for the lighting the menorah. The main subject here is the miracle of the delivery of the saving us in battle. Yeah, that's the main thing. So now let's begin. Should we move or?
Whatever you.
It's
up to you.
Sorry?
I'm able to listen like this, but it's definitely not the recording.
Okay, so be it. We'll see how the recording comes out.
Okay.
As long as you can hear me.
I do.
Okay. The tefillah of Alanism. And the prayer of Alanism, which we say in Chanukah, we have the following description of the battle and the success, and as follows: Masarta, you delivered, we say. Description number 1, mighty in the hands of the weak. Description 2, Rabbi biyad matim, many in the hands of the few. Description 3, Kamein biyad tahirim, pure in the hands of pure. Rishon biyad tzaddikim, wicked in the hands of righteous. And number 5, Seidim biyad oiskei seresecha, wanton sinners in the hands of those who occupy themselves with your Torah. They freely sin.
Okay.
There's one thing is a person is a sinner, he sins, whatever happens, people sin. Another thing is, right? Sorry?
No conscience.
Yeah, no conscience, just yeah. Exactly, completely free sinners. Freely don't care for it and just sin wantonly. That's really
Feelings of remorse or guilt.
yeah, remorse, now care without anything. Just couldn't care less, sinning. Yeah?
Like reckless.
Reckless. Rather than couldn't contain myself, so I sinned. Okay, so this is the text. Says the Rebbe. The commentaries on the Siddur have already raised the following curiosity. We have 5 categories. Now, of the 5, the latter 3, pure in the hands of impure, wicked in the hands of righteous, wanton sinners, zaydim in the hands of occupiers of your Torah. L'chura, seemingly after the parentheses, ein zemapulos hanes, has nothing to do with the miracle.
All of those 3 have nothing to do?
Yeah, why?
Okay.
Why does pure in the hands of impure indicate some sort of great battle of victory? Weak in the hands of many, mighty in the hands of weak, miracle. Usually the mightier win. Many in the hands of the few, also miracle. Usually the mightier win. What does pure and impure have to do with war? Or righteous, wicked? Or
The spiritual war.
we have to get to that, which means the miracle here is not just the physical battle, but it sounds like
Never is.
if you read the text in English, it sounds like a physical battle. That's what we're focusing on, right? You went to battle and you delivered us from.
You fought our battle for us.
You fought our battle. Yeah. So the Tumah V'Tara, Shem Tzadikim, Zaydim V'Yishkitetecha.
Isn't it? We fought your battle. It's Hashem's, right?
Yeah. So okay, good question. Maybe we'll get to that later.
Okay.
Sorry, the tissues, please. Thank you. So the last 3 categories. Tumah Tara. Category 1, impure purity. Rishayim tzaddikim, wicked righteous. Zaydim oiskei seretecha, wanton sinners and occupiers of Torah. Einam inyan gvura v'chalusha. Have nothing to do with strength and weakness. That somehow pure over impure is a miracle. And by the way, if it's a spiritual thing, then pure and impure, the pure should win. So it's not a miracle that the pure won over the impure. That's the way of spirituality. If the issue is spiritual, right? Besides that, the whole point is good morning. We're describing the battle here. Seemingly, the description of the Jews as being righteous. Sorry.
It's 8:30. I still come with. No matter what time.
Okay, so this is the question the Mefarshim ask. The last three categories don't seem to have to do with war. Weak in the hands of the. It's potato.
No, I meant.
Yeah. Mighty in the hands of the weak. That has to do with war. Thank you very much. It's a great miracle. Many in the hands of the few. Also great miracle. What is pure, impure, righteous, wicked? Torah and wanton things have to do with war.
Look, when you put a drop of food coloring into a bucket of water,
Yeah.
one drop is gonna turn the whole bucket blue.
That's not how battle works.
Okay. No, but when you're talking about pure and impure, that's exactly how it works.
No, so then the pure
The
should
im-
win.
No, the impure, one drop is that food coloring, the impure.
Anyway,
And that's
either
why
way,
it's still a miracle.
it has nothing to do with battle.
Why? Okay.
Why is it battle? Pure. Your guns work better if you're pure. Your arrow is
Not
going out.
just- it's never just a physical thing.
Oh, so we need to explain that. We need to explain why in this context specifically. No, when it comes to Purim, we don't say that. The Purim Monism doesn't say that. When it comes to Hanukkah, the battle is described as pure against impure. And somehow that it affects the physical battle.
That has effect on the physical, so everything that's, okay.
Let's think of how that
Forget everything I
works.
said.
Sorry?
I'll come back to everything that I said.
Well,
For now,
we will.
Okay.
But the flow of discussion, the flow of the text seems like we're thanking Hashem for the physical battle, for the great miracle of physical battle. And these elements have nothing to do with physical battle.
Okay,
Seemingly. Yeah? Okay. So,
Does the order matter?
I don't know if everybody's gonna get to the order, actually. Maybe they'll get to the order. We'll see. I don't remember. Okay, let's see now. Yesh Tirtzu. There are some of the commentaries on the Siddur which answer. Api Maimer Chazal, based on the Gemara which says, Man Choylin Rabban. The Gemara discusses where is it? It's in the Dorim. I looked in the footnote. I didn't know all the marriage. But the Gemara discusses in the Dorim. Yeah, and I looked it up before, so that's how I know it. I heard a good joke, actually, just recently, from the name of Shaul Brook, that when an ignoramus tells you the source for a certain text, believe that it's correct. Because if the ignoramus is telling you the source, it's because he just looked it up. When the scholar tells you a source, it could be he learned it years ago, but he's a scholar, so he remembers it. So maybe he'll be off by a verse or a line or a page. But if the ignoramus tells you, he just looked it up, to believe him that he knows where it is. Anyway, I don't know the Gemara that by heart. I looked it up before the class. Okay, so the Gemara in the Durham says that the Gemara is talking about a certain vegetable. That's one source seems to indicate it's good for your health, and some say it's bad for your health. And they go, a certain vegetable, it's either good for your health or bad for your health. The Gemara is trying to reconcile, is it good or bad for you? And the Gemara's conclusion is that if you're weak, it's good for your health. If you're not, it's bad for your health. But if you're really sick, then it's bad for your health. I think that's what it was. Okay.
Interesting scale.
Yeah, the Gemara's a scale. Like weak versus like just being sick. Being plain old sick. So the Gemara answers this. So man choylin rabbanan. Who are the ones who are like the sick, that are weak enough, not really sick, but they're weak enough to qualify that these vegetables are good for them. Says the Gemara, that's the sages. The sages are weak. Why?
Weak physically?
Yeah, physically weak. Even when they're healthy, could look in the parentheses. This is the commentary Ran, who has a running commentary on Adorim. He just explains, because even when they're healthy, they're weak. Why? Torah weakens the person.
In the physical body?
Yes. Because the person's not engaged in physical activity. He's not engaged in exercise. He's not focused on his personal health and whatnot. So he's learning, and therefore he's weak. Like the bookworm. Yeah. So the result is continuous snapshot. So when the Siddur describes us as pure, involved in Torah, and pure and impure, so we're pure, a wicked, a righteous in hands of wicked, it is a description of our weakness. Because we're because we're righteous, and because we're involved in Torah, and because we're pure, we don't practice the skills of war. We don't work out, so we are weaker.
Not focus
So,
on
so,
the body.
so actually, being righteous and being pure, and being involved in Torah is a reason to lose a battle, and therefore it's part of the description of the miracle. This is the answer that the commentaries give.
The
Clear?
commentary is good.
The commentary is listed.
That's not the
Not the Rebbe. This is the commentary's answer.
All right.
Yeah, clear? Okay. So there is, with respect to these things, pure, impure, righteous, wicked, Torah learners or sinners, there is a relation between that and being weak or strong in battle. The government, and therefore, because of the miracle, those who practice the art of war fell into the hands of the righteous, pure Torah learners who don't practice war and don't work out, and they still won. Miracle.
Right, then you would only need one of those examples then, right?
Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, there was going to suggest a number of problems with this answer, including that.
Trying to think of like
Yeah.
Gemara.
Can you take a motor brain to go through this? Good. Okay, continue to Rebbe. Parentheses. Second paragraph, right side. Please, therefore, Ein kan elo tosefes beer, alif neza. Really, the next three categories are just added explanation to what we said before. Nothing is added. It's an explanation. The first two were weak in the hands of the mighty, one category, many in the hands of the few, another category. Now, to explain why these are mighty and why we are weak, we have the next three descriptions, because we're pure Torah study and righteous. Right? The reason why that the Jews were weak was this was the nature of their bodies. Sorry, not because of the nature of their bodies, because they were weak. But because they're involved in Torah study, Torah weakens the person, and that's why they're weaker. Okay, so the second three are an explanation for why we're weaker. For the first two. Clear? Clear so far? All right. Then everybody's going to reject this answer and give his own answer as, obviously, otherwise why would everybody be giving us a whole text here? Okay, however, a number of problems arise with this explanation. Number one, I just mentioned the fact. Based on this, it doesn't actually highlight the greatness of the miracle. And that's kind of your point. It doesn't add anything. We already knew that they're weaker. To give you an explanation for why they're weaker. The explanation for why they're weaker doesn't make it a greater miracle. The fact that they're weak makes it a great miracle. In other words, what's the difference why they're weak? The point of the miracle here is the mighty in the hands of the weak. Why they're weak? What's the difference? Let's say they were born weaker. Genetics. What's the difference? What's the difference for the reason why they're weak? So that's question. That's problem one. Let's just say you'll say, okay, we want to know why they're weak for some reason, even though it's irrelevant to the miracle why they're weak. Let's just say we want to know why they're weak for historical purposes. Let's just say, okay. The explanation itself it lacks. Why? Reading the text on its simple meaning, it's difficult to say this. The degree of Torah study required to be the reason for your weakness has to be the kind of degree of Torah study that that's your entire occupation. If you spend an hour a day learning, that's not a good enough reason for you to be weak. The weakness described of someone who studies Torah and therefore he's weak, that's the Gemara describing, is someone whose entire occupation is Torah study. And therefore he doesn't sleep, he doesn't eat properly, he doesn't work out, and that's why he's weak. Right? The person is so occupied and tired to the point that the Torah weakens his body. As mentioned above. Then came, and if so, first of all, we haven't explained why the other two categories are mentioned. Pure in the hands of the weak, impure in the hands of the pure, and Torah and wicked in the hands of the righteous. Righteous and pure have nothing to do with the weakened person. Nothing to do. The weakness here is because you're involved in Torah study. A guy who goes to business can also be righteous. A guy who works out every day can be righteous. A guy who is a police officer in the Jewish army of the Maccabees could have been righteous. And he would have spent hours and years trained and not weak. And he's still righteous and he's still pure. So of the three that we're asking about, this explanation only explains the category of wanton sinners in the hands of the Torah occupiers. That's problem two. So problem one is, who cares about the reason why they're weak? Problem two is, you only answer one of the three statements. Problem four is, this only explains people who are involved in Torah studies so much that they're weak.
Presumably wouldn't have been the only people.
That wouldn't have been the only people in battle.
Select few.
Maybe the leaders, but not everybody. So much to their sons. So there's a few of them who are that involved in Torah that they're weak, but everybody, yeah. So it continues. First of all, the other categories of pure and righteous doesn't highlight the fact that they're Torah studiers. Pure and righteous could be people who aren't Torah studiers. Even in this category, which is explained, wanton sinners in the hands of Torah occupiers. It's difficult to say that the explanation here is that they're so involved in Torah that they're weak. It's very difficult to imagine that the entire army of Matisyahu and his children were all sages whose occupation was completely Torah. Matisyahu had no hired, there were no from soldiers besides for the, there were no soldiers except for guys who were mamish sitting in yeshiva all day. Something's wrong with that.
The only soldiers were the guys who were sitting in yeshiva?
That's what it sounds like.
Those were the only guys that they were.
It doesn't. It would be hard to say that. It would be hard to imagine historically that's the correct. That's true. Where was everybody else? Where was everybody else?
Hiding away.
That's something about that doesn't sound historically accurate. Well, we have to have historical sources for that, certainly. But something about that doesn't sound right.
Like Torah person in those times would be pure most likely all the time.
So the Torah observant people who are not necessarily could have been very strong. Torah observant people who would have been in battle, who would be righteous and pure, but they would not be so involved in Torah study that they're so weak. That's what I'm saying. Even the Jews, okay, they were being occupied by the Greeks.
So you have to be pretty well versed in Torah to be pure all the time, because there's a lot of us.
That's another question. Does it mean here pure in the sense of halakhically pure? They're literally halakhically pure? Or mean pure like spiritually pure? What does that mean? Are you imagining that all the soldiers were halakhically pure? Because you're correct. To be halakhically pure, really only the Kohanim would have done so. Only people who need to go to the temple at any moment would have been halakhically pure. All Jews made sure they were halakhically pure only when they came to Pesach or whatever. So does it mean you're halakhically pure? No, you're really narrowing your army into tiny amount of people.
Well, don't we say in Tanya?
Okay, so let's imagine that it means spiritually pure.
But in Tanya,
So why can't your business guy be spiritually pure? He's spiritually pure.
in Tanya, it's very we understand that it's very difficult to attain this level of spiritual being pure. In Tanya, no.
So which gets okay. Back to the main point. So let's use the description righteous and hands the wicked. Tzaddik here means Tanya level tzaddik.
I don't
How
know.
many people in the battle were Tanya level tzaddik? I think that's kind of the point. When you say Torah observers, and the reason for the weakness is that Torah observers, you're making it a very narrow amount of people. And if we're going to use that category as only people who are so involved in Torah study that they're so weak, then the righteous would also be a very small category of people who are righteous at that level, of the exclusionary level, and the same thing would be pure, which means that Torah observers or Torah learners and righteous and pure isn't a narrow category. It's a much broader category to describe Jewish people, which means that the explanation that they're so weak because they're Torah studiers is not a good explanation. Because even the guys who are not so weak, not so involved in Torah that they're so weak, they're ordinary business people who have an hour morning, an hour evening of learning, would have also been in the battle, and they're still in the broader description of righteous, pure, and Torah studies. So there cannot be that the reason why Torah observers are part of the miracle is because they're so invested in Torah that they're weak. It's a very, very narrow crowd. Just like, to your point, halakhically pure would be a very narrow crowd, and to your point, a tzaddik of Tanya would be a very narrow crowd. Yeah. Okay. 48:30. We'll continue Be'ez Hashem tomorrow. But it's very geschmack. When it comes to the Rebbe's explanation at the end, I'm going to see how the entire story of Chanukah is going to open up our eyes to the true depth of the history of what Chanukah is all about. Wonderful day. And if you're looking at Chanukah, tonight's the first night. Imagine. Okay.